Think of yourself standing in a voting booth. You're slightly out of breath. The curtain behind you feels like a barrier between who you are and who the world wants you to be. You look down at a piece of paper and you realize that you are being asked to make a choice that will ripple through the next 4 years of your life, affecting your bank account, the air you breathe, and the lifestyle you currently have. But here is the jarring truth. You don't totally know what you're doing. You've spent 40 hours this week working a job that drains your soul, another 10 hours stuck in traffic, and whatever energy you have left goes to hanging with friends and family, or trying to find a moment of quiet in a world that never stops screaming. You haven't read the 510-page economic proposal. You haven't studied the intricate environmental impact of the new pipeline. You are, like most people, guessing. This is the hidden pain of modern existence. We are told we live in a democracy, yet we feel like small gears in a giant machine. Every few years we hand over our entire political agency to a person we've never met, hoping they aren't lying to us, and then we are silenced for the next 1,460 days. It is a stunning betrayal of our own reality. We feel small, unheard, and disconnected. This isn't just a political problem, as it's also a psychological one. It's the anxiety of knowing your future is being decided by someone who doesn't know your name or care to know it. But what if there was a way to reclaim that power without having to become a full-time scholar? What if your vote wasn't a rigid, frozen block of ice, but something fluid, moving, and alive like water? Welcome to the world of liquid democracy. Part 1. The invisible cage of representation. We have been sold a narrative that there are only two ways to run a society. On one hand, you have direct democracy. It sounds wonderful in theory. Everyone votes on everything, but in the reality of the 21st century, it's a recipe for burnout. Can you think about having to vote on the specific sewage management protocols of your city every Tuesday night at 9 p.m? Or vote on dozens of small, intricate technical bills every month? It's an inconceivable demand on our time. It's why in ancient Athens, despite its remarkable innovations, they could only function because they had a massive population of enslaved people doing the work while the citizens debated. For the modern worker, pure direct democracy is an unthinkable burden. On the other hand, we have a representative democracy, which is what we live in now. This is the system of the fixed term. You pick a person, usually from a list of a few people you don't particularly like, and you give them your voice. The problem is that once they have it, they don't have to listen to you anymore. They become part of a distant elite. This creates a staggering sense of loneliness and desperation in the heart of the voter. You see policies being passed that feel sickening, yet you have no way to stop them until the next election cycle. It's a jarring realization that your freedom is actually just the right to choose your master for the next few years. We are trapped between a system that asks too much of us and a system that takes everything from us. Part 2, the flow of power. How liquid democracy works. Liquid democracy, often called delegative democracy, is the middle path that feels like a breath of fresh air in an oppressing maze. It is a hybrid model that treats your vote like a liquid asset rather than a static decree. The core of this idea is simple but extraordinary. You own your vote and you can do whatever you want with it at any time. Think of a digital platform where every single bill and policy is listed. In a liquid democracy, you can voluntarily participate to log in and vote directly on a bill about a topic you care deeply about. Maybe it's about local education, inflation, or healthcare. But for the issues where you feel confused or out of your depth, like complex maritime law or intricate tax codes, you don't just throw your vote away or guess. Instead, you use flexible delegation. You find someone you trust, such as a subject matter expert, a local activist, or even a friend who is a total nerd about that specific topic, and you give them your proxy. You are saying, I trust your judgment on this specific issue, so use my voting power. The truly sensational part of this is the transitivity of the vote, or what is called meta-delegation. If you delegate your vote to Sarah, and Sarah trusts an environmental scientist named David, your vote flows through Sarah to David. David now holds the weight of your vote and Sarah's. This builds a network of trust that mirrors how we actually make decisions in real life. We don't ask a politician what car to buy, we ask our gearhead friend. Liquid democracy brings that organic human truth into the power of the vote. Part 3, the clout of the instant recall. Perhaps the most profound feature of this system is instant recall. In our current reality, if a politician betrays your trust on day 1, you are stuck with them for 4 more years. In a liquid democracy, if your delegate makes a choice that you find disgraceful or disgusting, you can log into your app and take your vote back in a single second. It is the ultimate accountability. The delegate doesn't have a term, they only have power as long as they have the trust of the people behind them. As theorists Bloom and Zuber pointed out in their 2016 work, Political Representation in Liquid Democracy, this creates gyroscopic motivation. Instead of a politician acting solely to get re-elected in the distant future, a delegate in a liquid system must act with integrity every single day. If they stop representing the values of their voters, their power literally evaporates in real time. It's a jaw-dropping shift in the power dynamic. It moves us away from the winner-take-all mentality and into a space of constant dynamic negotiation. You can even choose issue-specific proxies. You can have one delegate for economic policy and a completely different one for civil rights. It recognizes that no single person is an expert on everything. Part 4, From Ancient Stones to Digital Codes. Liquid democracy isn't just a fantasy dreamed up by tech enthusiasts in Silicon Valley. The roots of this go back to the very foundations of human society, but with a modern, miraculous twist. If we look at ancient Athens around 508 BCE, they had a staggering commitment to direct participation. Male citizens would gather in the Ekklesia to vote on war and finance. They even chose their administrative council, the boule, by lot, essentially a lottery, because they believed that any citizen was capable of serving. It was a beautiful attempt at total truth in governance. In the 13th century, the Swiss started the Landsgemeinde, where citizens gathered in open-air assemblies to vote by a show of hands. You can still see this today in places like Appenzell Innerrhoden, Switzerland. It's a breathtaking sight. You can see a sea of hands determining the law of the land. Then you have the New England town meetings, a tradition that started in the 1600s and continues today, where neighbours look each other in the eye, debate and decide their town's budget. The beginnings of liquid democracy can also be found in a radical moment of history, the Paris Commune of 1871. During 2 months of revolutionary fervour, the National Guardsmen used imperative mandates. Delegates weren't just representatives, as they were also messengers. If they didn't do exactly what their neighbourhood assembly told them to do, they were recalled instantly. It was a jolting reminder that power belongs to the people, not the person in the suit. Then Lewis Carroll, aka Charles Dodgson, yes, that Lewis Carroll, the guy who wrote Alice in Wonderland, proposed something stunning. Back in 1884, he called it proxy voting, a system where minority preferences could be defended and better candidates selected. He understood something profound. Not all votes are created equal in terms of the knowledge behind them. In 1967, Gordon Tullock took this further in Toward a Mathematics of Politics, suggesting that technology would eventually allow us to vote by wire. He famously said, "New ideas always seem radical and bizarre," but he hoped that they would lead to a more scientific political structure. Today we see this evolving into the digital age. Real organisations have now tested this in notable ways. The Pirate Party in Germany used liquid feedback software for internal decision-making, allowing members to shape platform positions through delegative voting. The Net Party in Argentina used Democracy OS open-source software to bridge digital deliberation with legislative voting. Flux Digital Democracy in Australia experimented with giving citizens direct say in parliamentary votes. Even Google ran proof-of-concept experiments with liquid democracy for corporate governance. And perhaps most remarkably, decentralized autonomous organizations like Arbitrum and Threshold Network use liquid voting for protocol upgrades and funding decisions. These are real communities making real decisions that affect real money and real lives. Part 5. The Shadow of Star Voting and Divides. Of course, every light casts a shadow, and liquid democracy has its own dark corners. Philosophers like Helene Landemore have pointed out the startling risk of star voting. In a world of social media and influencers, what happens if a charismatic celebrity or a smooth-talking populist amasses hundreds of thousands or even millions of proxy votes? We could end up with an accidental oligarchy where a few stars hold more power than any elected official today, but without any constitutional checks and balances. It's a disquieting thought. A system meant to empower the individual could accidentally create a new class of digital kings and queens. Then there is the digital divide. If the system runs on an app, what happens to the elderly man without a smartphone? What happens to the rural community with no internet? Excluding them would be a dismal failure of the democratic ideal. And then there is the problem of policy inconsistency. If one group of experts votes on a tax law and a completely different group of activists votes on social spending, the two laws might clash, creating a confusing and muddled legal reality. And there's something philosophers, with a hat tip to Jean-Jacques Rousseau, find deeply disturbing: the erosion of the common will. Rousseau believed that delegating votes was a betrayal of democracy itself, that it encouraged private interest trading rather than collective pursuit of the public good. When every person delegates differently on different issues, does the resulting policy framework even make sense? Or is it just a patchwork of contradictory decisions made by different groups at different times? There's also the loss of deliberation. Democracy isn't just about voting, it's about the conversation, the debate, the painful process of working through differences to find common ground. Liquid democracy might reduce all that richness to a series of transactions. Click delegate, click vote, click move on. Are you just treating your civic duty like an Uber Eats order? Where's the space for changing minds, for persuasion, for the messy humanity of political dialogue? Another significant issue is the risk of software hacking and systemic manipulation. In a traditional paper-based system, a bad actor would have to physically intervene at thousands of polling sites to change an election, but in a liquid democracy, the entire democratic existence of a nation rests on a digital architecture that can be susceptible to breaches. To combat these risks, developers are turning to a suite of cryptographic tools like blockchain technology, zero-knowledge proofs, and end-to-end verifiability. Part 6. Why this matters to you. So why should you care? Why does this matter to your life right now? It matters because we are currently living through a crisis of meaning. We feel like the system is rigged and our votes don't matter, and that feeling leads to a deep, agonizing apathy. Liquid democracy offers a way out of that loneliness. It utilizes the Condorcet Jury Theorem, which is a mathematical principle that suggests a large group of people, even if they aren't all experts, has a much higher probability of reaching the correct answer than a single individual. By allowing us to delegate to those with area-specific expertise, we aren't just making democracy fairer, we are, in fact, making it smarter. It's about the idea that our collective consciousness is more powerful than any one leader. It's about moving from a system of power over to a system of power with. When you have the ability to choose your own experts, you are no longer a victim of a system. You are a designer of it. You can focus your energy on the things you really care about, be it climate change, local housing, or school funding, and then trust others to handle the rest, knowing you rescind their power in the moment they fail you. Part 7. Reclaiming your reality. In the end, liquid democracy is about more than just apps and voting. It's a philosophical shift in how we view our existence. It's a rejection of the idea that you are too busy, too uneducated, or too insignificant to matter. It's a system that scales with your life. Some weeks, when you are overwhelmed with the struggle of daily survival, you can delegate your voice to those you trust. Other weeks, when you feel a burning desire for change, you can take the wheel yourself. It is a rare and extraordinary opportunity to bridge the gap between our private lives and our public responsibilities. It's a way to turn the shameful inefficiency of our current systems into something spectacular and responsive. We are at a point in human history where our technology finally matches our democratic dreams. We no longer have to be small gears in a giant machine. We can be the blood in the veins of a living, breathing, liquid society. The reality is that the old ways aren't working anymore. The burnout is real, the anxiety is rising, and the old representative models can't keep up with the fast-paced digital world. Liquid democracy isn't a perfect silver bullet, as nothing is, but it is a bold new leap toward a future where every human voice has the chance to flow where it is needed most. It's about truth, it's about meaning, and most importantly, it's about you finally having a say in your own existence.